Oh yeah, buddy. As long as you don't push yourself, no sore throats.
Nah, we're
escalate.
good. We're good. It's nothing too crazy. It's mostly my stuffy nose that's like, well, not stuffy. It's like runny.
Hmm.
But
Everyone seems to be having that lately. It's probably the pollen.
yeah, but we'll just deal with it. I should have ordered these differently. But welcome to the. What do we even call this exactly? Because like, as I said, like the reason I want to make this because we have probably very different perspectives on some characters. So I don't know. We'll just Rivals tier list. We'll come up with a name
It's
later.
just another Rivals tier list, I guess.
As always, never take these seriously.
Opinions.
For fun. It's
Yep.
for fun. Don't get angry if your character ends up being the D tier. Although to be honest, I don't think there's many characters that would even be in D tier. I don't even think Widow
No.
is in D tier right now. I think she's okay at C.
Yeah, I would say Widow and Hawkeye are a good C.
We'll see. I feel some people think certain characters are way higher, but for now, I guess we'll we'll go in order. I should have maybe ordered these tank, DPS, and then support, but whatever. Alright, so first up is Adam. How do you feel about Adam?
Well, his healing can be pretty solid if you know how to manage your cooldowns. It's just if you're not used to aiming with him, hitting your marks with your primary fire can be very difficult.
Yeah, I would put him like at B. What do you think?
I'd say a B, just because he does hit hard when you do hit, and his healing's good. It's just like some of the other characters, without the hit scan, it can be difficult to actually get a hit.
Yeah, and something that people tend to forget. If you hit a headshot with the left click, you shave off 1 second off of the healing cooldown. So if you actually are very good with headshots, he could actually get bumped into an A, I think. But
oh, absolutely.
That's a hard. You have to actually be pretty good.
You have to have good aim and manage your cooldowns, because I've seen people just like spam their E, and then it's like, all right, well, guess the rest of us are screwed.
Yeah, it's because too many people are used to the more basic, just heal body support style. But anyways.
Yeah.
Black Panther.
Ooh.
One of the few dives that didn't get nerfed, but I want to say he's kind of like one of the worst dives at the moment. But what do you think?
I feel like he is one of the worst dives, just because compared to, say, like Psylocke or Magic or even Iron Fist, he doesn't have a lot of get out of jail for him. I'd say he may hit hard, but I'd say he's maybe a C. What do you think?
I'm kind of torn. If we add more characters to C, he's probably gonna be bottom. But I honestly almost want to put him at B. The only character that because I've heard I don't really play Black Panther, but I have heard that sometimes he's a little buggy when it comes to his dash, like the basic dash. That if you hit the spear, you mark them, and then dash on someone that has the mark, it resets your dash, but sometimes it doesn't trigger. It may be a bug, or maybe just you're moving so fast that you just actually didn't even hit it, but I don't even know since I don't really play Black Panther, so we'll put him in C. But I feel because of those problems, I would personally probably put him at B.
He does have those issues from what I have played. I have noticed those issues as well.
Alright.
Like you said, whether it's a feature or a bug.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's either people are just not actually landing their thing, or it's actually a bug. Anyways. Black Widow.
Black Widow. Another character that requires pretty decent aim. She's not hit scan, right? She is
hit scan. It's just a little different than because it's kind of like Hela, but we'll get to Hela in a bit. I would put her at C, mostly because she has mobility, which is something a lot of the sniper characters tend to not have a lot of.
True.
The scope does give her more easily hittable shots, even at hard ranges.
True.
Her ult is actually pretty good now at taking out supports. And I don't know if you've had widows that do this, but some widows actually run at you to do the kick and then the stun.
Actually, yes, I ran into a widow that did that the other day during comp.
Yeah, and if you get good at that, you can actually pick off certain people if you rush them down, kick, do the sip stun, and then shoot them in the face when they're in the air.
Yeah, that's a
So
good
I would
one
say
shot
she's
species.
a high C, maybe a B, depending on how well you're good with that combo or just your shooting in general.
Right. I agree with that one.
What do you think about the team up though?
Her current team up isn't that, at least in my opinion, it's not that great. Like, all it does is let you rapid fire your shots without needing to reload your magazine.
Mm-hmm.
It does go through people, so you could technically hit more than one person at once. But how often are people lining themselves up like that?
Yeah, I always felt that anytime there's a thing like, oh, piercing shots, the situation, as you said, like the situations where that actually happens to line up for you are like so low in these kinds of games that like it's not even worth. Like, at least it is nice that you don't have to wait so long between shots, though, which is the main buff, I would say. The piercing shots kind of like a little extra.
Yeah, the main buff of that is rapid fire. No need to reload the magazine for a few seconds.
All right, Hulk.
Ooh.
I
Solid
haven't really played very much Hulk.
He's a solid brawler, though the cooldown on his shield makes it a little more difficult to stay in. You usually, like, if you're getting focused down and they get through your shield, especially now that it's been nerfed, you're gonna get burned down very quickly.
Yeah.
And then Bruce is just, he's squishy.
That's on
dead.
purpose. But I feel a lot of people don't play Hulk correctly a lot of the time. Like, the thing with Hulk is you have to constantly be jumping. Like, yeah, he's good at brawling if you have a second tank with you.
True.
Or at least like some of the melee DPS like kind of also taking some action. But
right.
I would say he's like not quite dive but flanker tank, and can do, like, if you jump towards, you know, a support that's kind of hanging out, you'll probably kill them. Like, even
that is
certain,
true. And
even
if you're good
certain
with aiming your
DPS.
jump. That is true.
The craziest part with the jump, I don't know if you had this happen if you played any flyers, but if you, like, a Hulk jumps at you with enough charge on this jump, he can actually knock you out of the air.
Oh, I've done it as Hulk. I've knocked Scarlet Witches out of their ult, just grabbing, just jumping at them as Hulk.
Yeah, so that's a thing that good Hulks actually use to their advantage.
Yes.
Where would you place him though?
Ooh. I'd say a B, just because, like you said, not many people play him, and he does have his weaknesses, but he's not by any means a bad tank.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. If you're really good Hulk, he's also a contender for being bumped up to A, I feel.
Hulk, an A, 100%. If you can hit your stun, I'll just call it stun spit. I don't know what else to call it.
Yeah, that's also a very good skill because they cannot get healed while they're stunned. That's like the only stun that prevents getting healed, which is crazy. And also, like, the only way to get out of it is if it runs out of time or if Hulk damages you. So if you hit a support or a tank with that and then just focus on somebody else, like, it's GG.
It is.
Captain America. I feel this meta kind of big disadvantage for him.
The current meta is, yes. A lot of flyers.
A lot of
meta,
flyers.
So
he did get slightly nerfed.
Right. He's still really good at taking out the back line. If he's not going after, say... Yeah, if he's not going after, say, like an Ultron, who is the only flying support right now. He could, if the other tanks aren't paying attention, he could decimate the back line.
And he has the highest mobility out of all the tanks, if I remember right.
The only other one that may beat him in mobility would maybe be Venom in terms of covering ground.
Yeah.
But he is the only one that can run freely.
Yeah,
without
he's got
like, a
constant
cooldown or
mobility.
anything.
Where Venom can cover a lot more ground, but he only gets I don't even remember how long the cooldown is on his swing. But
It's a 5 to 6 second cooldown, I think. I was just playing Venom earlier. It's a hefty cooldown. You can't, if you swing in, you better be good with your other cooldowns because you're not swinging out anytime soon.
yeah. I'll slap him on B. Once we get all the tanks in here, we'll see if we adjust some of this.
Yeah, we'll see if we adjust. Cloak and Dagger.
I would say they're pretty good right now.
With all the support strategist buffs, yeah, I would say they're actually really good right now. I'm noticing a lot more people pick them up, and they are by far probably one of the easiest strategists to start with, because
Yeah.
she has homing projectiles. So it's not like
they
you have to have good aim.
and they
just-
buff the damage of the daggers as well. So even if you're trying to hurt the enemy, like, you know, the AoE on the... They slightly nerfed this a while back, the AoE healing on the dagger, you know, like the little bubble that pops out when you hit somebody. But they did buff the damage, so she's actually getting way better at quote-unquote brawling, let's call it, even though she's shooting. So I would actually place her like A, maybe. She still has the biggest. She still has the biggest weakness of, you know, Iron Man, Magneto, potentially Moon Knight, Namor canceling out their ult with a good ult back. Same with
even
Scarlet.
a good Scarlet Witch, a good Punisher knock
yeah,
them out of
could
ult.
potentially knock them out of it. But besides that big weakness, I would say they're pretty great.
Yeah, other than their huge weakness, yeah.
Not to mention the cloak debuff is pretty good, and you know the fade is also pretty good. Their kit's just
That is
pretty
true.
good.
It can save. Good cloak and daggers can save you from a lot of ults doing that.
Doctor Strange.
Strange. Alright, well, you've played Strange more than I have, so what do you think?
So obviously, I mained Strange during Season 0 when he was kind of busted because he had the Hulk team up. He just was the best tank back then. Then he got slightly nerfed, but still was pretty good. And then he got nerfed to the ground for a while. But I honestly feel he's back in like the A territory because they removed the main nerf that really hit him hard was the Maelstrom of Madness, the Explosion E move. They added Fall Off a while back to it, so you have to be like basically point blank to actually get the full damage on it, but they removed that this latest patch. And you know, he's a little beefier now as well compared to where he was like Season 0 he was like 600 health, and right now he's 700, something like that. So he's a little beefier now, and they removed one of his biggest nerfs. So while they still nerfed his damage on the regular attack, overall I think he's still pretty solid.
I thought they actually this season right now, they actually increased it.
I think they increased the amount of energy for the blast that you get from each attack, I think. I forget exactly, but they slightly buffed them again this most recent 2.5 season.
Yes.
Alright. Groot. Our boy Groot.
Went through some nerfs this time around.
Yeah, they nerfed this Iron Wall cooldown.
He doesn't have as far a range
health,
anymore.
right? The health of the Iron Wall, I think, is down too.
Health of Iron Wall is down. His range on his primary fire got a slight nerf. He doesn't reach as far anymore.
Yeah, because a good Groot could actually take down certain flyers if they were flying a little too low, I think.
That is true. He still can, but like you said, they have to be flying. Now they have to be flying a lot lower to actually hit them. Otherwise, they are so far out of the way he can't reach. He's still a solid tank though. Compared to the others, he has some pretty good mitigation. Those walls come in clutch.
Here's a big nerf though. I looked at the patch, the where he got nerfed. His vines on the grass walls, their damage got nerfed. A little bit.
I have noticed that, yes.
A little bit.
It's nothing crazy.
I will still
Despite
say
what
he's
people say,
pretty good. Maybe not top tier like he was,
Yeah.
because before some of the nerfs, he was always banned on ranked, like literally.
Oh,
every
okay, he
time.
still is.
Yeah, because
He
people
still is,
don't
like,
want to
8
deal
out
with
of
the
10
walls.
matches he's banned. That is true. Well, that's because no one.
So
His biggest
we'll put it like
advantage
this.
is people's lack of environmental awareness, where
Mhm.
people just don't destroy his walls. It's the same thing for Moon Knight's Ox. No one destroys
The squiddies,
the,
the
uh,
squiddies.
squiddies. No one destroys the things that these heroes throw out.
Yeah.
So
All right, I'll put him above Strange. I think he's better than Strange in most cases, but we'll see. Hawkeye.
he does have better precision.
Yeah, he does.
Hawkeye. Oh boy.
So what do you think about Hawkeye? Because I know he probably has played a lot in the gold range.
He has been played a lot in the gold range. With his current team up, with his current Luna team up, he can be really annoying. Because all he has to do, he could shoot that through walls, freeze you guys. It's not that long that you're frozen, but it's long enough for him to come around and get some good headshots off. However, just from what few times I have tried to play him, in a game where there's a lot of fast-paced shooting, for the most part, a lot of fast-paced and fast-moving characters, unless you have really good aim, similar to Widow, and I don't believe he's hit scan?
No, he is projectile.
He's projectile. So unless you have really good aim, you're not going to hit too many of your shots.
Yeah, Hawkeye's one of those, like, it's kind of like how whenever you get like a Spider-Man on your team, like either you're a god or you're trash. Like it's that
Exactly.
polarization of what kind of Hawkeye you got. The thing is, if you are the god Hawkeye, you will literally like destroy everyone.
Oh yeah, if you're a god Hawkeye, you will obliterate. Similar to Widow. If you're a god Widow,
I will do this right now and
it's
say
over.
the same for Hela. Like if you're a god aimer, like these two you'll carry and literally solo carry the game. Like if you're actually good with those two.
that is true. But if you're bad,
You'll just throw.
yeah, it's pretty much just a throw. And I would argue Hela, for whatever reason, this is just my personal opinion with her, it's a little easier to get hits with her. Maybe not headshots, but because her projectile is so much faster and has no real fall off. It doesn't need to charge like Hawkeye's.
I believe Hela is hit scan. That's probably.
She is slightly hit scan. It's nothing crazy, but it is a bit of a hit scan.
I don't really play either of these guys. I play Widow for fun here and there, but I don't really play either of these. But I do know that
I've
if you're
tried
good
Hawkeye.
with both of these, like you'll just demolish the lobby. Especially if they don't have anyone swap to like deal with you. You just run the lobby. It's up to you if you want to win or just have fun and.
Or just throw at that point, yeah.
I will say they buffed Hela. Like they gave her more shots, I think, a while back on her basic.
I believe they did, yeah. She has a larger magazine. I want to say her E, where if she hits it, she pulls you in. I think it's a lower cooldown now.
Yeah, they buffed the cooldown so it comes back faster. They nerfed her the bird though, like the bird form to get away.
Yeah,
it's
it's not as fast. You don't get as far. Yeah.
So, but still, these two, they're just too good.
Yeah, if
I will
you're good with
say-
either of those two,
That their main weakness obviously is kind of like a shield tank, so like Strange is good to kind of like keep them at bay, or a good diver is also good.
yes, absolutely.
Iron Fist is next.
Iron Fist.
I
A little
forgot.
bit more mobility and survivability than Panther.
Yeah. So for sure, at least like here, I will say the nerfs hit him pretty hard. So like he's not even being played at all. I haven't seen Iron Fist for a while now.
I've actually run into him a few times. If you're good with Iron Fist and can time your parries, you're a menace to deal with. But because I do believe you're right, they did nerf his damage a little bit. If the healers are paying attention, if the strategists are paying attention, they can more or less out-heal your punches. So you'll be there, punching, and it basically equate to absolutely no damage at all, to the point where you just have to bail out or you're gonna die.
Yeah. I will say he's definitely more survivable than Black Panther since he does have his self-heal and the block gives him the blue health. But the main nerf that he got is he doesn't get as much blue health from blocking per hit.
Right.
And they also reduce how much because when you're basic attacking, you get time down from the cooldown on the block. That's how he works. So
right.
It used to be 1.5 seconds per punch. Now it's 1 full second. So they did is that 33% nerf to it? So he doesn't get his block as fast, which equals not getting his super fast punching as fast. As well as
right.
when he's super punching, he doesn't go as high. So with the super punching, he has a harder time actually keeping up with flyers now.
Right. He can still get flyers if they're not paying attention, but he won't stay in the air as long as he used to. He is no longer a mosquito for them anymore.
Yeah, because I don't think I've seen him get banned anymore. Because he used to get banned quite a bit.
Yeah, I don't think people have been banning Iron Fist at all, actually. You're right.
Next up,
the next guy, however,
Iron Man,
has been getting banned like crazy. All right, God, Iron Man, where would you put him?
Well, as an Iron Man main, I would say he's S or A. The problem with Iron Man, he has two big problems. One, hit scan is his biggest weakness, and one of the best characters is hit scan. So I'll still slap him on here just because there are way more positives than negatives to him. Obviously, he's very good at taking out pretty much every single support ult if you time it right and do it correctly, because too many Iron Mans just kind of like fly straight up into the air, a million miles away, maximum pulse, and it just slowly comes to where they are, and there's no one left there. You have to kind of do it like, not necessarily point blank unless you really need to hit it right away.
That is true. That is true. I feel like it really depends on who's also playing Iron Man, because we've run into, like, you on Iron Man is like, damn, MVP always goes to you because you're that good with Iron Man. But if you're bad with Iron Man, characters like Hawkeye, Hela, like you said, hit scans, Widows can screw you up so easily.
A good Spider-Man is also really good against Iron Man.
True. A good Spider-Man will rip Iron Man apart.
But the other thing, I haven't run into this personally, but I hear a big strategy for the higher ranks is the Jeff NATO, but stacking it with a support ult, so basically the Storm won't die mid-ult. And the only thing that can take that out is Iron Man.
I never realized... Now, this just could be me in the lobbies I'm in, but I never realized that you could even kill Storm during that. She has such a large...
yeah, she gets the blue... Yeah, she gets the blue... A lot of blue health, so... But, here's why. So, normally, when she just got the blue health and she's ulting, like, if your team focuses her down... And like, it's doable, especially like a good example of someone that can take her out mid ult if she doesn't have a support ult with her is Punisher ult. Punisher ult is strong enough and shoots fast enough that you can probably take her out, and he's also CC immune during it. So he won't get swallowed up by the tornado.
True.
So Punisher's actually very good at taking out the Storm Jeffnado. But the high level play is Jeffnado with any support ult basically. So she can't die during it, with the exception of an Iron Man ult. Scarlet can do it too,
Okay.
but Scarlet can get swallowed up. That's the thing. At least Iron Man can
That's
be
true.
far enough away that he won't get hit by the tornado and still get the ult off. So that's why,
That is
that's
true.
the other reason I'm still placing it in the S, even though these two can probably destroy him. Jeff.
Having said, now speaking of Jeff Nato, all right, so he used to be a media team.
Besides-
Jeff.
Besides Jeff Nato, I would say he's probably the worst character right now. What do you think though?
I would have to agree. Jeff Nato is strong, don't get me wrong. But now that he is no longer able to be played as DPS Jeff, where you just swim to the back line and you spit your little water balls at people non-stop until you have to reload, he has lost a lot of his damage potential. Having said that, his mainstream now damaging has come in clutch with a lot. His range with that is insane.
Yeah, I can agree with that. That it also makes him better against flyers, which is kind of the meta
does.
right now. So even though he does have had, I'll probably still keep him there. But do you think he deserves the C?
A low C, if anything. Like, he would be below Panther, because a good Panther can mess you up, especially now that you can't stay underwater all the time.
Yeah. That's also why I kind of slapped him down here at first, because the fact that you can't stay underwater forever, a lot of Jeffs have not gotten used to that, and it also, I don't know if you noticed, but it's very, very slight. But maybe it's placebo, but I feel like it's way easier to kill Jeff during his ult if he solo ults.
I feel like you are absolutely correct. I have noticed that. You're right, it could be placebo effect, but I remember having a lot harder time catching him and killing him when he ulted than I am now. Like, now, if my team targets him well, or if I can charge, like you said, Iron Man, Magneto, if you can aim it right, you can get him now. And that makes it a lot harder for you. Unless you swallow the whole team, you're probably gonna die before you can get to a ledge.
And even going underwater normally, I feel it's the tiniest bit slower. I feel, but I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't use Jeff very often. I didn't really play him before Jeff Nato got introduced into the game. So maybe I'm just bad at Jeff. But I've seen too many
Jeff a
Jeffs
little
that
bit.
play bad anyway. So that's why I felt like he was like bottom C or D.
Yeah, but I would definitely say bottom C, just because his healing didn't seem to get nerfed. If you place your healing bubbles and can aim your stream right, not only can you get some damage in, but you can consistently heal your team. But if you're not using the bubbles and you're solo healing, and like you said, the dive does feel a little slower, so if you don't time that right, you will get eviscerated and your team will die. So
I will say the other two big nerfs. Obviously, you know, as you say, he can't really DPS Jeff because he only has the 3 bubbles now instead of, I think it was 10 when it was attached to his regular shots.
yeah, it was definitely, it was 10.
And I would say the bigger one is the fact that his bubbles don't insta-heal you, they heal you over time now.
Right, it's not a burst heal, it's
It's just
regen.
a regen, which I feel it made him way worse overall.
I would have to agree, just because there is no that burst healing after you. If you do land a bubble on somebody, you will. It's not like, okay, you got a bubble, I'm done. No, you gotta focus that stream, and if you don't, they're gonna die anyway.
Yeah. Loki.
Loki. I would place him probably in A tier. because yes, without his clones, and that's his major drawback. If you don't have your clones out, your healing is not that great. The clones play a vital part in getting out high healing numbers and even damage. But I've noticed a lot of Loki players burn through their clones fast. Instead of using their getaway when he turns invisible and leaves a clone behind.
Yeah.
Instead of using that to get a free clone, because that has a relatively low cooldown. That's I think maybe a 3-5 second cooldown. So you could get a free clone and still have one in your pocket to place somewhere far and get away quickly.
Yeah.
But a lot of people instead just use both of their other clones, and then if they need to get away, they're kind of screwed.
Yeah. I would place him in S, to be honest.
Really?
I would say the main reason, like, you have good points to putting him in A. I mean, I was gonna do this right away. These two are the best supports to me. I don't know to you, like, if you have a slight change when it comes to these two specifically.
No, I would have to agree. Out of all of them, they are the most solid.
The thing is, like, yeah, you have to aim both of these guys' heals, but their heals are solid in how much heal, and you know, Loki can pump insane heals if his clones are up, as you were saying. But the other big ones are, well, for both of them, well, Loki's a little bit more survival than Luna, so that's why I'm putting him higher than Luna.
That's true.
But, so, Loki ult is literally the most versatile ult in the game. Like, no question. You need a support ult, just look at a good support ult, use it, pop it. You need to get rid of somebody, if you, for example, Cloak and Dagger ults and no one can take care of it, just see if you got an Iron Man flying around and just pop it yourself, you know? Although granted,
that is true.
The main way the higher tiers go with this is Luna ult, about a second or two left, Loki ult Luna, another 12 seconds of no one dying, so these two together basically give you 24 seconds of no one dying.
That is true. If they don't have an Iron Man or a Magneto,
annoying to deal with. And Magneto is variable. Like, Iron Man can definitely do it. That's why he's up here. But Magneto, I would say he's like the best tank right now, or one of the best, but we'll get to them soon.
Yeah.
But Magneto definitely still has a hard time taking out Luna. Cloak and Dagger, no problem. Adam, Jeff, no problem. Mantis, whatever. No one really uses Mantis.
That's true.
Ultron doesn't even last long enough, so you can just like absorb it and then shoot it at somebody else. But we'll get to that. But yeah, these two the top supports, at least to me. Their ults are too good. Their healing is great. Loki has the extra benefit of more survivability than Luna on top of the invincibility circles.
That is true. They did nerf those, but they do still come in clutch, where you don't
still
have to waste your ult.
Yeah, like that ability is literally an ult, to be honest.
It is.
It's almost as good as just a Luna ult. Obviously, the better players will take down the totems and the clones, but still. It's kind of like how Soulbahn and Portal are like ultimate levels of power in an ability.
Right, but it really depends on the player. Like, some people with Portal, and the Portal is so bad it's laughable.
Yeah.
They'll waste the Soul Bond at like the very beginning, and now it's got a large cooldown right as you go into combat.
Yeah, too many people the Soul Bond at the start of the fight, where that's not how you're supposed to use it effectively. But anyways.
Right.
We're up to Magic.
Magic. I'm not gonna lie. I would put her in A. Just because she hits extremely hard. And has a nice main attack melee combo. Using her demon, she gets a lot of overhealth if you can aim it, especially if you aim it at a tank and they don't move out of the way fast enough. You're getting a lot of overhealth and some free damage in. If you still have your dash and a portal, you can get out of an encounter almost faster than an Iron Fist or a Panther can. Her ult hits extremely hard. The only downside to her would be like if you run out of portal and you don't have a dash, you will get burned down fairly quickly. And if you don't time your ult right, they will burn you down before you even finish the transformation.
Yeah, you pretty much nailed it for me. That's pretty much the same. She's kind of like the Melee, Adam Melee, basically, because she's a heavy cooldown dependent character.
Yes.
But
you gotta go through her cooldowns very quickly.
But I would say, I agree with everything. Like, she's very strong. She's good at flanking, and she's also good at brawling. I would say, obviously, one of her main weaknesses, obviously, flyers are one of her biggest weaknesses. But even then, a good magic that can land the right click with the E can actually take it on a flyer, but that requires a lot more skill than, let's say, like Spider-Man or like.
Right, it requires better aim and good timing.
But yeah, I would say she's a solid hit for sure. Magneto. I would place him here. What do you think?
Honestly, with his current buffs, I would have to agree. I will admit, his biggest drawback right now, similar to what we said about Adam and Magic, is his cooldowns a little bit. They just lowered his cooldown for his right click, his pushback. So that is actually really strong now. They gave him back his range and they increased his damage, so he's a great damage dealer. But if you don't manage your bubbles and your shift shield correctly, you will have almost no defense.
Yeah. And they even buffed how fast he gets his right click back. It used to be 4 seconds per like bar, now it's 3 seconds. So that's a 25% quicker getting back your right click.
That is, yes, they did.
And also,
but again, like between his damage and his ult, if you're good at aiming that, you can take out Cloak and Daggers, you can take out, if you wait, you can take out Luna's, though I do agree they did make it a lot harder. I could be crazy, but I swear they increased her speed when she's ulting. I used to be able to hit Luna's, and now they just kind of zip out of the way before my ball gets to them.
I think that's more of a. It's also why I also place Cloak and Dagger a little higher. Like some support ults, some support players have figured out that okay, I literally need to be as evasive as possible. Like it's harder to be evasive on Cloak and Dagger by a long shot. But you've seen some Cloak and Daggers. They try to get their third and fourth dash like completely like indoors or like super out of the way of a Magneto, so they can either just not even be close to it, or if they have enough time for the meteors, so it's not super slow, but it might be slow enough that they can switch to Cloak if they're not a Cloak already, and you cloak it away. And Luna's they're just always fast. It's just a lot of Lunas were lazy and they would stand still, but they realized you're not invincible when you're Luna ulting. It's just that you recover health so fast. But if you literally stand still, a Punisher ult can't destroy a Luna. But that's besides the point.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mag, pretty much top tier tank. If you get the Emma team up, you get basically 2 bubbles in 1 if you use it correctly. And also, if you get in trouble, you just clone it up and try to confuse them and get out of there. So that's an even bigger plus. Mantis.
I'm not gonna lie, I would probably place her in C tier. Because where most of the other healers, even Adam, like you said, if you don't manage his cooldowns right, you're not going to do much healing. But if you can manage his cooldowns, you do a lot more solid burst healing, where Mantis is just a regen that she can throw on you. And that is such a slow regen that if there is no other support, the healing's really not going to be there. And it has a consumption of her leaves, which you will only get back quickly if you can land headshots.
Yeah.
So if you're not good at hitting your headshots, or the enemy team's really mobile, you're not gonna have a lot of your leaves.
Very true. I will say, if you do get good at Mantis, I've seen some crazy Mantis players that play him like hard, pushing with their tank or even one of their DPS, and damage buff is pretty good.
That is true.
It enables certain characters, for example, right here in the same tier, Black Widow, if she gets a Mantis buff, she can one-shot headshot a good chunk of the characters if she has that buff.
That is true.
So
that is true. The buffs are a plus. The buffs are a plus to Mantis. It's just, again, if you're not used to her and you go through your leaves, you're gonna struggle.
Yep. And her ult's not that great, unfortunately, overall.
No, her ult, it's almost like a pseudo Luna ult, where it gives everyone an increased speed, a little bit of overhealth, and I think a slight damage increase.
I think it's just movement
But
speed, but yeah.
Is it just movement speed?
I think it is, which is still good, but...
Oh, it's still good, but you can still get burned down out of it really quickly. And it doesn't last that long.
Yeah. The biggest thing about Luna ult is just that it lasts forever.
It does. It lasts ages.
Alright, Moon Knight.
Moon Knight. This is actually a tough one for me. I would personally, as much as it hurts to admit, I'd probably say he's B. Just because he's very dependent on what the other team is doing. He's good at taking out flyers if you're good with your aim. They just increased his projectile speed, so he can hit flyers and a lot of people a lot more easily now. But if you're not good with your aim and you're not good with leading a shot, you're gonna miss a lot of the time. And most people, when they throw out their onks, they throw them out in very obvious places. They're easily destroyed. You really want to try and hide your onks.
Yeah, I definitely agree with all those. I would say he's probably one of the few characters that is a decent counter against Loki, because Loki clones are basically free onks.
That is true. And even without the onks, because of how his projectiles work, if the enemy team is constantly bunched up or constantly trying to hide behind their tanks, he can easily become an A tier with magic, because he'll just hit everybody all the time, constantly, consistent damage across the board on everybody on the opposing team. But if they're good at spreading out and they find your onks and you can't hit your onks, it becomes a struggle for him.
Yeah.
And I want to say they nerfed his ult as well.
I don't think they did anything to his ult recently, at least. But I will say his ult is unfortunately back to being kind of like meh. It's relatively avoidable unless you stack it with somebody else. Let's say like the Groot, the OG combo of Groot Moon Knight. Because
that is true.
That's still relatively strong, but not as great as it used to be. Another decent one, I guess, would be like, who else can kind of like combo with Luna? Not much, honestly. Maybe Thing. Maybe
yeah, because he can
Emma.
stun them. Yep, and Emma. Yeah, they would work.
Right.
I don't think anyone else really bunches people up.
No, not really. But Namor. Up next.
squids are really good, and especially with his current team up with Hulk, the Gamma Squid, for whether you're a flyer or a dive, it can shred you.
Yeah.
And if people aren't destroying the squids, even more so. But he is another character that if you don't have good aim, I do believe he's projectile with his main attack.
Yeah,
he is not hit scan.
he's projectile with both the left and right clicks.
So, yeah, I'd say, especially right now with the team up, I'd say he's A tier, just because he does have a harder time again than Moon Knight when it comes to hitting people, but because of his squids, and if people don't destroy the squids, he can really mess you up. And his ult is better than Moon Knight's, I would say.
And the only reason that is because it prevents you from using your movement stuff when you're in the circle. And they made it bigger recently.
That is true. They buffed it, and with that knockdown, even if you don't die from his ult, the rest of the team can easily focus you down.
Yeah. But he's also one of the few DPS that can take out a lot of support ults. The middle circle is 500 damage.
I did not know that. That is true.
That's why he's on the higher end here. But yeah, 500 damage on the small middle circle, and I think the outer circle is like 200 or 220, something like that. So obviously you cannot kill a lot of people, but as you said, the stun animation might be enough to give you time for the rest of the team to just wail on them and kill them.
Sure.
Penny
recently got buffed, I would say, with her rocket team up. Oh, give me 1 second. I'm getting a phone call.
Yeah. I would personally place her probably B, though. We'll wait for J, but I'll give my thoughts in the meantime. So yeah, Penny, got the team up with Rocket. They can put 2 nests, although the second nest does have less range. Some people don't forget to mention that. But the plus of it is, obviously, if you place them correctly, or at least place them in ways you can cover a lot of chokes or prevent them from going from anywhere but one way, which is really good in certain maps. Like the, what's that map called? The, one of the Spider-Man ones.
The Convergence map.
That one, and actually both, to be honest. Because, like, in where the beginning of the cowboy one, like where the bell tower is.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so like if you place one nest like in that little building on the side where the health pack is, on the left if you're defending, and then put your other nest like kind of like on the right-ish, you can basically force them to always be in the open area in front of you. Obviously,
that is true.
Penny is also pretty good against dive because the net. If the supports stay at the webs where the nests are, they'll be less encouraged or will die in the middle of their dive.
That is true. She's good area denial. She's good at holding a point. But I'm sorry, I may have missed it. If you covered this, she's not that tank-y compared to most other tanks. She's relatively squishy. Though she has no magazine, people have figured out that her headshots do half damage, which is odd.
Yeah, I think that's a bug that they haven't fixed yet, so that's why she's also on the lower end.
Yeah.
And a lot of, like, she doesn't really have a shield, which is also a problem. So she's kind of like just standing there shooting, and if you're like a good Hela, a good Iron Man, good Hawkeye, like you can just pelt her until she dies.
Almost with any DPS, because she has almost as big of a hitbox as Groot. No shielding. Unless she's standing in her webs, and even then it's like, okay, you're standing in your nest, I'll just take out your nest.
Yeah.
And her ult...
Her ult is
honestly
terrible. Her ult
great.
is literally, I would say it's the worst ult in the game.
It probably is, honestly.
It makes you just, what is it, 10, 12 seconds?
Oh yeah, I think it's like 10 to 12 seconds of just running around, placing mines, placing webs. It's like, yeah, great. If you can get around the enemy team and they panic and go into your webs, you could get some good kills. But most of the time, you're just running in a circle, taking taking damage, giving free hits.
Yeah, like that's literally the worst thing ever for a tank. I would say the only time it's okay to ult with her is if you're like the last person standing, because when you activate it, it does give you over health, and since you're running on your webs, you are getting constant heal. But besides that, like it's a terrible ult. I don't know. I don't know if they can figure out how to either buff it or change it in a way that it actually makes it more useful than it is right now. I don't know if you've ever heard this, but I hear like the best Penny player in the world does not ult at all, because that's how bad it is.
I wouldn't be surprised. I feel like the only way they could possibly make her ult better, but they would have to find a way to balance it, is if somebody steps in the webs, because you can still get people to step in those webs. The likelihood of getting a kill though is very low. If they get stuck, if it traps them for like a second or two, and enough time for the mines to get them. But then they would have to find a way to balance it because of how many webs she can place down. Getting stuck in that, you could get an easy team wipe if they were stuck in it.
Yeah. Funny enough that you mentioned that, in the battle matrix mode, there is a card that if an enemy is on the webs for 2 seconds, they get auto webbed up, like her right click every 2 seconds. Like, you mentioning that is kind of funny because like they kind of already made it a thing in that random ass TFT mode, but it's already a thing in a way.
I feel like that would be a good way to make her ult better. It doesn't have to be every single one of her webs, because that would be completely overpowered.
Yeah.
But at least for her ult, it would definitely make it better.
Yeah. Psylocke.
A solid. She did get nerfed on her invisibility recently.
Yeah,
it's not as long, only by a second, but that does hinder her at times. Otherwise, she really didn't go through that many huge nerfs. Her right click only lost a point in damage. Her left click still does about the same. Yeah, I would say A tier. She's still a really solid DPS, a solid diver, solid flanker. Especially now with the Emma team up.
Yeah. I would say she didn't really lose out of all the I think it was all the dive and some flankers that got nerfed overall. I would say she got the least hits to her kit compared to everyone else.
She came out the least scathed out of everybody.
Because her
and her ult,
solid.
Unless there's a Loki.
Yeah, her ult is so weird to me though. Like, it's so funny to me that like the more people are in your circle, the less good your ult is when you ult with Psylocke.
Yeah, I think that the problem and what keeps her from being S tier is that exactly that. It's like the more people there are in the ult, I guess the concept, for lack of a better word, is she's bouncing between more people and only slashing people once or twice per, instead of only having 2 people to focus on. Okay, but then if the team's all bunched up, your ult is almost useless.
Yeah.
You do so little damage, and if they have a Loki, all he has to do is pop runes, and it's completely useless.
And even then, I don't know if you've seen, and I've actually pulled this off like once myself. But I was like Invis Woman, and my teammate was a Luna or a Cloak and Dagger, I forget when I did it. But I've also seen a clip where it's an Invisible Woman and a Luna. But basically, a Psylocke dove and ulted us. I placed the Invisible Woman shield, we stood by it, and we healed each other, and we lived. And it was just two of us. Like, we were just constantly hard healing each other, like, and she didn't kill us, even though we were literally by ourselves.
Right, and I think that's the other issue is like, if you have another coordinated good strategist with you, say like just for the sake of argument, the example, you're the other strategist. If you're constantly healing each other, then just like Loki's runes, you completely, nullify the ult, making it utterly useless. Now, if your other strategist panics and tries to run away, you're dead. So it's very team dependent. But her ult is probably the weakest part of her whole kit. Otherwise, she's very solid.
I will say though, besides the ult thing, her kit has always been solid. She just kind of like kept going up and up until her apex at when the seasons 2 started. She got slightly knocked down, and she's actually good against flyers.
Yes, she is a good counter to all compared to like Magic and the other divers now. She's probably one of the only divers flankers that can take care of a flyer now. Other than Spidey.
Yeah. But Spidey is a different kind of character. But yeah. Okay, Punisher.
Punisher. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not entirely sure. I don't really play Punisher, so I'm not sure where I would put him.
I'll be frank,
Like
they buffed him pretty hard, so I would put him up here.
That is true.
What
They
do you
did give him
think?
some solid buffs. I would say they gave him some solid buffs, I do agree. And if you're a good Punisher, dealing with you is such a pain. His biggest drawback would be his ult. If there's a good mag, your ult's effectively worthless if mag has ult, because all he's going to do is pop it, throw it at you, and you're dead.
Yeah, very true about that. That's why Magneto's up there where he is. But besides
true,
that, like,
Besides that, he's really solid.
They buffed his health with the team up. He gets to the 300 mark, so he's actually one of the beefiest DPS right now.
True.
His damage got buffed because of the team up. He also got more bullets in his magazine on his regular assault rifle.
Right, they did increase that. So yeah, I would say the only other drawback to him, if any, I would say is similar to other characters, but you could say this about almost any character in this game. If you don't have very good aim, you're not gonna have a good time.
Yeah. And his ult can shred almost every ult for the most part. There's obviously Magneto can take you out, and if he's good enough at it. But his ult is so strong, and they buffed how fast he moves during ult, so he's actually a lot better at chasing people down with his ult.
That is true.
Not crazy, but it's still a buff, which is nutty.
It's not like you're not gonna get away from the mag ult. I remember when I saw the initial trailer and showcase of his buffs, I was worried, like, great, now with mag I'm not gonna be able to hit him.
No,
But you can still easily
still
smack him with the ult.
That's one of the
So
few
it's not
things.
fast enough to get away, but it's fast enough to chase.
Yeah. Scarlet Witch.
Scarlet Witch.
I would say she's maybe around like here, maybe potentially lower, potentially higher. What do you think, though? I don't use Scarlet very much.
I would have to agree, just because it really depends on. I hate to say it depends on the Scarlet player.
Yeah.
There are people that will, especially now with the Strange team up, you can shred tanks so easily with her team up with him. If you time your ult correctly and you don't leave yourself in the open, you could get team wipes or even just like 2 to 3 people very easily with her ult. However, she is also probably the easiest person to follow when she shifts, like her escape.
Yeah.
Where Hela is a bird and can cover some decent distance, and Psylocke goes completely invisible unless you hit her. Scarlet leaves a little red orb.
It's literally her.
It's her that you just follow. You can just follow it around, and it's like, okay, I know exactly when you're getting away.
Yeah, that is very true about Scarlet. I would say if you're good with Scarlet, because Scarlet, as I mentioned a while back, she can get rid of the Jeff NATO. She's actually pretty good against Luna ult.
Right, and she can take care of flyers very easily.
Yeah, and she's good against flyers, which is kind of the meta. Not necessarily hard, but kind of the meta. So if you're paired up for, like, say, I would assume this happens a lot. You're gonna probably have Mag Strange as your tanks. So if you have to team up, and if the Mag is good and bubbles you during ult, like, it's just GG.
That is true. That is true. Well, like we said, it really depends on it. If you're a good Scarlet Witch player, A tier. If you're a decent one, B tier. If you have no idea what you're doing with her, C.
Yeah,
because she's very
pretty fair, I would say. Rocket Raccoon.
They recently buffed his healing, so he does do better burst healing if you hit them directly.
Yes. And overall,
and his team right, overall he does more now. His team up with Penny's really good. I would say I would probably put him, now you obviously have a Lord Rocket, so you would know better than me. I would probably put him in like A tier.
I would say that's pretty fair. The main thing that people don't understand, obviously, with Rocket is now you have to aim it at your teammates to get the most out of it. But another thing people forget now is the bouncing. Once the ball bounces, if it hits somebody directly again, it will heal them for the burst. So some people figured out a kind of a cheesy way to use them, although this is very unapplicable for most actual matches. But if you're kind of like above, slightly above whoever you're trying to heal, shoot at the ground, hit them, it bounces off the ground and heals them again, basically instantly. But that's actually very hard to do in an actual match.
True.
But it does work. I've tested this myself on the firing range, like, you know, I'm floating above one of the bots, I shoot it at them from above, so it's gonna bounce off the ground, it heals them, bounces off their feet, basically the ground, heals them again. Basically, it insta-heal them completely, basically.
That is true. So he's very solid on healing. His team, especially now with his team up, his revive unit is safe from divers, at least. Can still be taken out at range. But still, I'd say it's a pretty good team up, and it does give Penny more versatility with 2 nests instead of just 1.
And if you want to be crazy, you can use the webs from the BRB to extend Penny's range a little bit. Although you have to kind of talk to your Penny and figure out like the placement, but that's a bit of a...
That is true. Though I will say, I have noticed, and I don't know if this is a bug or not, the shields you get from Penny's nest seem to do more than the rockets.
I haven't tested this myself, so I don't know. Well, we would have to like check that.
I'd say that's definitely something to test, because whenever I pick up a rocket shield,
it's 25.
It gives it's 25. 275 is what my health as rocket goes to. If I pick up a Penny shield, it's 300.
Okay, we would have to like double check. And it would make sense because her second nest usually would be more in the action as opposed to rockets, though. Rockets, you tend to just hide somewhere in the back corner where hopefully no one would even bother go that way.
True.
And I didn't really mention it with Penny with the second nest popping out the little armor packs and the jumping pads, which is handy. I always found that odd about the Rocket BRB, that it pops those out, but usually you have to place it so far away that that's kind of like, it's a nice bonus, but it's pretty useless because of how
it's useless in in combat. I would say it's more of how we typically use it. You throw it down before the match starts, you pick it back up, you find a place to hide.
Yeah. I did forget also, I'm still keeping him in S, but I did forget to mention, Iron Man obviously lost the Gamma team up, but honestly, as an Iron Man main overall for a long while, it didn't really matter once they nerfed the damage on the Gamma team up to like, it was just like 10 extra damage.
Right.
So it didn't really matter, so he's out of the team up now, and also, they slightly nerfed when you go into the powered up mode. They reduce how much blue health you get.
Right,
it.
and I think they also recently reduced the splash damage. Like you get increased direct hit damage from his main
I think
repulsors.
It was like the third blast or something. I think is what it's.
Right, third blast does less damage, and the splash damage, if you don't get a direct hit, does damage now.
Let's see. Projectile damage from third repulsor blast. Reduce the splash range. They reduced the range of it a little bit and the damage. Only on the third one though.
Right.
Give me a second. Alright, back.
Welcome back.
Okay. Next up, Spidey-Man.
Ooh. He did lose his team up with Venom, so he's not as survivable, quote unquote, if you can pin him down.
I mean, I would say the Venom team up it was more for getting the basically guaranteed kill if you got the combo. I don't think many Spider-Man actually used it to like keep themselves alive. But go ahead.
That is true. So losing the Venom team up made it a little harder for him to get kills. Now he has to actually do a little bit more of a combo. But having said that, if you're a really good Spider-Man, you can take out flyers with almost no issue whatsoever. The back line gets destroyed if the people aren't paying attention. His major drawback, and this really depends on the Spidey player, is probably Scarlet Witches, Cloak and Daggers if they're in Cloak. And even if they're in Dagger, they can still hit you as you try to get away. And if you're just not good with your zipping around or have bad aim and you can't hit your web markers, he's very squishy.
Yeah. I would say, unless you're actually terrible with him, I would put him here.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. He's A tier. Because again, if you're good with him, you're a nightmare to deal with. But if you're bad, unless you're really bad with him, you're still gonna get some kills.
Like, even if you're not very good, you can probably get the important kills at the very least. Like, obviously it takes more effort to play Spider-Man than, let's say, like, Namor or Psylocke or even Iron Man in a lot of cases.
Right.
But having said that, like, it's very I don't know how to compare the skill required to play like Hawkeye, Hela to Spider-Man. I would say potentially it's easier to play these two, which is why I'm placing them here than Spider-Man. Like, it's so much effort to play Spider-Man.
I would agree with that. Where Hawkeye and Hela, yes, similar to Spider-Man, but more so than what he needs. You need aim, but they're at a distance. Spider-Man's in the thick of it. He's in the back line. So you have to be good at knowing, okay, when's a good time for me to pop out. You have to be good at aiming your web slings as well. If you don't have the auto sling on, if you have that turned off, you actually have to aim where you're shooting it so you can actually swing away.
Yeah.
He does have a lot of cooldown management similar to Magic, and I would say who else did we say has a lot of cooldown management?
Adam and Mantis.
Adam and Mantis. He has a lot of cooldown management. So he takes a lot of practice to get good with. But if you get good with him, you can really mess with their backline and even certain DPS. His major counters would probably be Moon Knight, though.
Moon Knight's
Witch.
decent. Scarlet for sure. Namor is the big one.
Namor, yep. Namor would definitely rip him apart.
And even then, Winter Soldier is pretty good against that, but we're almost to him.
We're almost to him, yeah.
Squirrel Girl.
Oh, Squirrel Girl. Probably one of the easiest DPS, I would say, overall, just because... Not so much anymore since they nerfed it, but she is essentially just spray and pray.
Yeah, I can kind of see that.
You know, it's not as much as when I first started playing the game, where it was literally just, okay, I'm just going to aim in the general direction of the enemy team, and my nuts will just bounce over to them and explode and do a ridiculous amount of damage. Now you actually have to get a hit if you want to do a lot of damage. She's by far one of the easiest DPS. I'd probably put her... Oh... I'd have to put her in A tier because she does do a lot of damage. Her ult, if people don't kill it, is also, and especially in tight corridors, can really easily mess up the team.
Yeah, I agree with
she
pretty
has some
much
decent
all of
escapability.
that. I would say the main thing for Squirrel Girl is she is very good against two things. Teams that are just stacked up, kind of like how a Moon Knight gets favored by that.
Mm-hmm.
And teammates that just teams that just run it down the main path. If there's no one really flanking or even trying to go a different direction, like all you have to do is shoot in that area and you're good.
Yeah, that is true. She essentially is just aim in that area and pretty much deny a path.
And then she is okay against flyers, surprisingly. Because
I would say she's good against flyers, but similar to the others, you have to have good aim. Because if you don't account for the drop off of the projectile, you'll just miss.
Yeah. The thing is though, her right click, the ensnare attack. If you're good at landing that one, you can easily take down the flyers. Because that knocks them out of the air, and then you just plop them with one nut to the face, and they're dead.
Yeah.
And if you happen to not be able to see them, or if they get out of it, use your E to hit the acorn and get a reset on one of your abilities. If you need to just catch them, you do the jump, and if you just need to get them snared again, just snare them again.
That is true.
So she can be pretty good, I would say. Star-Lord.
Yeah, she's very versatile. Star-Lord. You're another one. That's another one you've played more than me, so.
Okay, so overall, I would put him around. I don't see him very often, so I would say he's like the lowest A right now. Because here's the thing: Star-Lord is a good flanker. He's fast. He can fly around and zip around. He's probably the second fastest DPS in terms of just being able to move around in a short amount of time. Because obviously sustained distance and speed is probably Iron Man, Spider-Man. But for quick movement or getting out of the way, Star-Lord's king. Like, you can just shift, fly real quick around the corner into the building and no one's gonna catch you. His dodge ability, reloads, and has iframes, still pretty good. They haven't even touched that. They did nerf his E a while back, the barrage, where he goes around like crazy and shoots basically in a radius around him.
Right.
That's the main thing he's been nerfed on. They did buff the range on his ult. I haven't really played him recently, but they did buff the range of his ult. Let me check the distance.
If I remember correctly, they buffed the range and increased the damage, but it costs more to get. Like, it takes him longer to get his ult now. And I don't think it lasts as long.
So yeah, they increased the cost, so that's a nerf to how often you can ult. But they gave it 10 extra meters on distance, and at max distance, 40 meters, it does more damage than it used to. So yeah, they buffed his ult overall. And his ult's really good. You know, it's basically aimbot, auto lock on. And
that is true. Though he is hard countered by Invis,
once
Luna.
again, all the support ults basically block it. Magneto can block it. Even like Strange or Groot can potentially get you out of it. When with Strange, you just shield, or Groot if you play some walls and go indoors, or I don't know. There's a bunch of other things you can do that kind of prevent. That's why he's not in the top. His range is also pretty low in his neutral game without his ult. But you have to be pretty close to even do okay damage. Too many Star-Lords poking are way too far back, I would say.
Right, you have to be. You're not a Hela. You're not even a Punisher. You have to be a little bit closer than any of them to do some decent damage. Storm. Member of Jeff NATO. Overall, I'd say she's still pretty good. I don't think she took any nerfs damage-wise or projectile-wise. Her area of effect that allows you to... Now, her speed boost isn't that great or that useful unless you're just trying to get to point more quickly. You're going to shift more often into your power boost that gives all your teammates within your circle a buff. And any enemies that go into your circle get electrocuted by lightning.
Yep.
I would say her biggest drawback is that if you fly too high, you're not really doing much. You're not buffing anybody. Your circle's so small, it's not very helpful. And she has no real escape.
Yeah, she is literally the slowest flyer out of all the flyers.
Right.
But I would still place her up here. Obviously, Jeff NATO's pretty busted, especially with the strategy I mentioned way earlier.
Yeah.
And actually, I just checked. They actually very slightly buffed her ult by itself. By 10 damage per hit.
Okay.
It's very slight, but unless they're getting killed off, you will kill most characters in two taps.
Right. The only things that counter her ult are obviously Luna, and I want to say Invis.
Invis can counter it by itself. Like the Storm ult by itself's not amazing. It can be pretty powerful, but just like Star-Lord, it pretty much is negated by a support ult. Or Loki.
Jeff NATO though is the key
NATO is just literally destroys everything in its path.
Everybody.
And the funniest thing is, like, the Fire Tornado is still in the game and is still about as strong as the Jeff NATO overall, but the Jeff NATO is way more consistent because
it sucks people in.
Yeah,
so like all you have to do is get close enough and you capture them.
Yeah, so they cannot heal off, so it's more guaranteed that the boosted damage and duration from the Fire Tornado.
Right. The Fire Tornado does increase the duration, and I think she also ends up with a wider range, like the area of effect is increased.
I think so,
but you can still get away. Thor. Oh, okay. I am personally still very conflicted with his changes. I got so used to him being similar to Cap, where he was a dive in, be a brawler, that now that they've essentially made him a ranged tank, it's very... I would put him probably in A, just because he can do a little bit more than Cap. And his ult is pretty good still. Like his ult, if you can catch people in it, is still good. But the fact that he lost his ability to really brawl. Like before, his combo was you dive in with your shift, and hopefully you hit somebody, like you knock them back a little bit, or you can pull them into your team. You main like hammer hit, hammer throw, and they'll get hit with both the throw and the comeback, and then smack them again with a hammer hit, and you both have your Thor Force back, and you've done a ridiculous amount of damage. But now that they've put the hammer on its own cooldown, that combo is essentially its frequency, how often you can do it, is dead.
Gotcha. I don't really play Thor very much, so I didn't really know his nuances from before this change.
Yeah, like that combo was really the bread and butter of being a Thor if you were gonna dive in and take care of, like, say, a Namor or any of the DPS or even the backline. It even helped with tanks. Now he relies a lot more on Thor Force and actually throwing lightning. Again, it's not a bad change. It's not bad, but he doesn't feel like a brawler anymore. And they nerfed how much blue health he gets anyway.
Yeah,
from all of it.
That.
He doesn't get blue health anymore from his hammer throw. He only gets it from Thor Force, and it's not that much. But that's because he can pop it so often.
And it makes sense that they nerfed it because he can pop it way more often, from what I understand.
Right.
Venom.
Solid dive tank.
The only dive tank that didn't really get changes, if I remember right. Like, he didn't get nerfed.
I don't think he got changes, period. His damage is the same, his range is the same, cooldowns are all the same. I would say his biggest, even though he's a 1-star hero, he does have a bit of a learning curve of when you should dive in, how you should use your ult, timing your E correctly so that you're not kind of wasting it. Like if you use it too early, then it's on a long cooldown and you don't get. But if you use it just before you die, you'll get a ton of blue health and be able to probably finish off the fight before having to swing away.
Yeah.
But he is still very squishy. And niche, where I would probably put him in B. As much as I do love Venom, and he has not been touched for the most part compared to every other dive and every other tank, he doesn't have the range of, say, like, Groot or Magneto, but he also doesn't have, similar to Thor, he has no shield to help the backline. Unless you dive in to help your backline, you really aren't helping the team.
Yeah, I agree with all those. I would say he's definitely better than, like, Cap and Penny, so I'm putting him, like, here.
Oh yeah, a good Venom can really mess up even a Captain America.
Winter Soldier / Bucky.
Another one that requires somewhat decent aim. I don't know if he got any changes other than his Cap team up, which is it's alright, not great.
Well, here's the thing. The Cap team up, it's more useful for helping everyone else except Cap. Like, Winter Soldier can still use it to dive into another friendly player and give everyone, including himself, shield, and it slows enemies. So it makes him an even better anti-dive. The problem is Cap is not very good right now. So 9 times out of 10, you probably won't have a Cap to give you that boost.
That is true.
But I would still place him like here. above Star-Lord.
Yeah,
Above Squirrel Girl, I would say as well.
yeah. I'd have to agree. He's great at canceling ults. Like if you can aim your snatch, your grapple,
Yeah.
you can cancel just about any ult.
Yeah, there's very few ults that if you get good with that, you can't you can't stop. Like let me see. You can't CC Thor. You can't CC. Can you CC Magneto? I know Emma ult can stop Magneto, but I don't know about other things.
If you time it right, I think you have to hit it right as Magneto starts his ult, or he's already going to be in the air. CC immune. It's very finicky on the timing.
His ult's good. Obviously, it's better. I would say probably in the gold lobbies. The ult itself.
Yeah.
Probably.
Again.
Yep. The beam.
The beam.
Although good Winter Soldiers can probably still pull it off in the higher lobbies. I don't see too many Buckies in the higher ranks though. In terms of,
no.
I would say definitely see Hela, Punisher, Magneto.
Yeah, ever since he got removed from the
often.
Rocket team up, since that team up got taken away, you don't really see Bucky that often anymore.
Yeah. Although it's so funny that at first he was part of the team up. I didn't even know that Rocket even had any association with either of those characters. So maybe I just don't read enough comics.
Yeah, same.
But besides
I had
the
no
point,
idea.
Wolverine.
Ooh, still a solid dive. Good team up with Thing and Hulk. I don't think he received any changes this time around. He's more of a tank diver than he is a backline diver.
Yeah, he's a tank buster for sure. And I would still place him around here because I would tie him with Star-Lord because his application is, killing tanks. Like that, killing tanks is his basically his only job. Like, yeah, he can kind of dive the backline, but you know his main mechanic is, the more health the enemy has, the more damage he does.
Right.
So he's just good against tanks. Literally, that's what he's good against. So if your tanks, the enemy tanks, I mean, are like the beefiest tanks. Groot has the most health, I think, out of any tank.
Right. If he goes after a Groot or a Hulk, a Thor, he can, or even a Venom, he can shred them. It's when it comes to shield tanks. Like, he has a bit of a harder time with Cap. Magneto, if you're good with your cooldowns, you're not going to do much against him.
Yeah. I would say Strange is okay. Like, yeah, you'll still get kidnapped, but at least Strange can float up.
Yeah, I was about to say, Strange can float away, he can put up his shield. He has a good way of getting away, where the other tanks, other than Magneto, don't have much of a defense against Wolverine, except maybe Venom if you have your.
Yeah.
If you have your swing as Venom, maybe you can get away.
The combo
maybe.
Is playing Bucky Wolverine. You kidnap whatever tank Wolverine gets, and then yank them. That's the
That is
play.
true.
And if you want to even go a bit further, if you can do the yank 180 uppercut to punch them even further back. That's like
that is true.
That's like the big play if you play those two. Although that takes very, very high coordination. But that's one way to like demolish a single tank. With technically two exceptions, but we're about to get there. Mr. Fantastic.
Before we continue, I do have to go for a little bit. I got a food shop.
Yeah, no worries. I'll pause it here. I'll keep this open. And once you come back, let me know so I can basically do a part 2 and we'll continue with it.
Yep.
I'll probably
100%.
just stick them together.
I will be back in a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'll be back in a bit. Bye.
But well, when you had local pizzas that are actually good, I can see how that would work out. Alright, we're almost done. Dude, I checked the other, like the section before you have to go. That's like it's been like an hour on that one over.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went deep in there. We're not even done.
We went deep.
Anyways,
Got 6 more to go.
Fantastic is next.
Oh my god, he's so fantastic. Alright, I would have to agree. You seem to be hovering over B.
B or A for me, because like, let me double check. I need to check it. I don't think they nerfed him in any way when Ultron came out. I don't think.
I don't think so.
I'm gonna double check
But-
real quick.
Like, even before like any talk of any nerfs or anything, he's such a
He's just a solid pick. Like,
he's a solid pick, but he has his issues where he's essentially a melee with range.
yeah, he's kind of like
Like,
Groot.
he
He's
doesn't-
kind of like Groot in a way.
Right, he's kind of like Groot, where he can't be all the way in the back, but being all the way in the front usually isn't too great unless you have your shift or you're in your like Chad form, your big
Okay.
butch form.
Okay. Hi boy. But yeah, I would say he's surprisingly good against flyers. I don't know if you've had Fantastics that actually target flyers.
Yes, I've actually played a Fantastic that's targeted flyers. He's good against flyers if he can catch them.
Yeah, if it's the right click, right? Like the grapple attack.
Yes, you have to right click and then left click again, like right after, so that you can kind of yank them towards you.
Yeah, and then you have the pelvic thrust attack.
Pelvic woos.
It's a bit of a meme move, but it's actually like probably his second best move besides the Chad mode.
That is true. It definitely is.
And
His
honestly,
ult, though.
His ult's meh, it's alright. Like they buffed it a little bit, if I remember right.
Yeah, they buffed it a little bit. It's definitely, to me, it's definitely more useful indoors, like in a room.
Yeah.
Because then you're not up so high for so long, we're giving people a chance to get away.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of just go up, down, up, down, up, down, and it's rapid fire of smashing them.
Yeah, if you get a low ceiling room, that's where it goes crazy.
Yeah.
I would put him in A. I'm trying to think like how far up though, because it depends. I would say it's very dependent on what the enemy team
It
is playing.
depends.
It's kind of like Wolverine. Like,
Right.
If they have like tanks, like Groot is very, very weak against Wolverine because Groot has literally 0 way to get away overall.
Right.
Mag only has bubble and then he's just getting destroyed. Thor, I guess you can bump him away and then dash away a couple times. Eventually you won't be able to catch you, I guess.
Well, that's just it. A Thor could dash away. Mag, honestly, if Mag bubbles himself, by the time the bubble runs out, Wolverine's like rapid slashing is already used up.
Maybe. It just depends. I would say Captain can potentially get away. Venom, it depends on the timing because, like, if he just dove in, he probably doesn't have a swing, but he might have his E.
Yeah.
Or if he caught him late after he activated E, he might get the swing back in time. This one just depends. Hulk can
Yeah,
potentially
it's a lot of
jump away,
cooldown
but it
dependent.
depends. Like, Wolverine's very dependent on who you get at what moment, and if your team can help you out if possible.
Right.
He's really
I
good.
feel like where vice versa, where Fantastic shines, he's like how everyone plays him. He's very much a pseudo tank
Mhm.
because he gets so much blue health in his Chad form. Because his shift, where he turns into a freaking cube, lasts so long, and negates essentially all damage.
Yeah, he's literally
he's good.
invincible. He's literally invincible.
Yeah. So he's very good as a pseudo tank.
well with, you know, with Mag, with Emma. We're not quite there for Emma, but he pairs well with Emma, I feel, because they both have ranged and melee, you know. Mag
Yeah.
and Bubble.
And then he really benefits from the team up with Sue.
Which
Much
we're
like
about
all
to
of the
get to
Fantastic
right now.
Four.
So in this woman, I would say
Honestly,
S, but
S
bottom
tier.
of the S of the three.
Yeah, just because her ult doesn't last as long.
Doesn't last as long, and she is vulnerable to the big cancelers. Magneto, Iron Man, even Hela can potentially kill her inside her ult, even if she's inside the ult. I've seen that happen.
Yeah.
I think obviously Scarlet can also take her out. Although she's above Cloak and Dagger just because since she can go invisible, they can lose track of her.
Right. So I've had a few matches where I go to ult the invis, but she has her jump, so she ends up going invisible, and I have no idea where the hell I'm throwing my ball.
Even though, if I remember right, the Cloak and Dagger ult does last longer than Invis Woman, but she is way more versatile in her survivability.
Right, she's way more and her healing potency is much higher than Cloak and Daggers.
She just has way
if you can hit your
range.
shots,
I
it's
think
much
she has
better.
the shortest range besides Adam.
Out of the
for
healers?
heals.
Yeah, actually, other than like Adam, she definitely has the shortest range.
Yeah, she has the lowest range, but I believe also she's on the higher end of the damage, and you know she has the push pull, the ball, the shield, so her utility makes up for it.
Right, and as far as her range goes, if you shoot out your main attack right, you can bounce it off the wall or the floor and get double healing. So,
she's great.
So she's very high up there. She's good. The Thing.
Our boy.
Here's the thing.
Here's the thing. We finally got to it.
Ooh.
Honestly, unfortunately, I think he's like the lowest tier tank right now. But what do you think?
Unfortunately, I don't really see him being played that often. He's a good dive. I would say he's actually a bit of a better dive than Cap because he's got a little bit more survivability in that as long as he has one of his teammates within a decent range, he can just kind of
jump out.
Just fling himself out somehow. It's not even like a jump, he just zips out of nowhere. Which is on a relatively low cooldown compared to like Venom, even Venom's swing.
True. He's a good
His downside... Right, and it gives them a shield and it gives him a small shield. Well, quote-unquote shield. It doesn't give over health or over shield. It just negates damage for like... Yeah, it's extra defense for like a few seconds. His downside is, other than that, he really has no defense. His defense is literally just running away with his shift, if he has it available. Otherwise, he has no defense for himself or his team.
Yeah, I would say the other extreme weakness he has, especially right now, is his lack of range. He literally can only punch. Like...
Yeah.
So
his right click has a bit of a range, but it's got a wind up, so it takes a while.
Yeah, but the main thing is flyers can take him up pretty easily. Decent. He's actually pretty decent against dive because the earthquake prevents movement. So he's actually not bad at hanging out with like backline. If you have a frontline tank, you kind of like push up while he kind of defends the backline.
Yeah, he's good at defending backline. And his ult does stun, so I would say his ult is far better. He's probably a tier higher than Penny, I would say, just because his ultimate is so much better than Penny's, where if he lands it, he could stun an entire team.
Yeah, but they're pretty close on being like not right
just
now.
Because like where his ult is better, he doesn't have a lot of range or defendability, and where she has range, her ult is bad.
Alright, before we go into these last three, I'll be right back.
Yep, take your time.
Alright, I'm back.
Welcome back.
Alright, let's see. Emma Frost.
Emma! where she lacks a more what's the word I'm looking for? Dedicated shield, like Magneto and Strange. Her shield can be very useful in blocking off a corridor, a corner, or even just canceling out like Magneto or Iron Man. She also does a ton of damage and has some pretty decent survivability when it comes to her shift.
I would say even with the nerfs she's got recently, mostly cooldown, not really numbers, except they lowered the health of the main shield. I would say she's still up here.
Yeah, she's definitely still S tier, especially with... Now, a lot of these, like, the team-ups really do matter. We all know they're going to get changed in a month. A lot of them are probably going to get removed or reworked or something.
I don't think they're going to remove this team up yet, and it's been nerfed already. Maybe
right.
In 2 seasons, maybe they might shift it or straight up get rid of it. We'll have to see. But well, she doesn't really benefit from the team up anyways. The beneficiaries.
Yeah, the benefit
Mag
definitely
and
goes more
Psylocke.
towards Mag and Psylocke. But
But
overall, you're right. Like
regardless-
numbers-wise, she still does a ton of damage. Her shield is still very useful and comes in clutch.
And they increased the range of her beam.
Yeah, so she hits even harder now, and she doesn't have to... It fits to where you think the beam is going, where before the
Yeah.
beam looked like it reached further than it actually did. Now it feels like it hits where it should.
Also, this is a thing that a lot of people might not have noticed. Before they increased the range of her beam did not get charge up on group walls. Now it does.
It does now? Was that
Yes.
intentional?
Probably, because basically that was the only thing that it did not get charged out of. The only other exception are Magneto's bubble and his shield. Magneto's shield is very interesting because, like, for example, let's say Strange Shield, right? Let's say we block a Iron Man ult with the Doctor Strange shield. It takes the damage and it explodes, right? Like the Iron Man blast still like explodes. It just doesn't kill him because it's blocked by the shield. But Magneto's shield, if the Iron Man ult touches the shield, it just disappears. Like it doesn't explode. It just gone.
Right.
This applies to basically all projectile ults or any other projectile, which is very strange to me. Why they work
I'm
different.
wondering, having played Mag last season, I'm wondering if it's a question of how they reworked his shift, his shield, his main like wall shield. Because where before it was this very similar to Strange, where you kind of had to hold it up and it had X amount of health.
I don't think it ever had
'cause-
health. It always had fuel, I think, if I remember right. It's just
I think-
that
I
it had
think you're
more
right, it was
fuel
always
before.
fuel.
I think it always
It had more fuel before. But now they really like lowered how much fuel it has. It can't stay up for that long, not as long as the other shield heroes. So I'm wondering if maybe that's why.
I'm not sure. They're just always been that big like difference, and I'm not sure why.
Yeah. That or lore-wise, he just absorbs it into the shield or something.
I guess.
Because he does do that with his ult.
Alright, last two. Human Torch.
Human Torch got a few nerfs this season.
Yeah, and I didn't use him very much when he was considered very strong. Like I know he was banned quite a bit before the most recent changes because let's see, the main debuff nerf he got is a couple of things. Number one, each of his little pellets from his basic attack got 1 damage down. I don't know how many pellets it is, but
I'm not even about to try and count them. They come out as a flare, so
yeah,
it's like
1 less damage per pellet. Increased charge speed of Blazing Blast from 2 to 3. I'm not sure what that even means because I don't even remember which one is Blazing Blast.
Blazing Blast. Is
that the right
I want to
click?
say that's his little. I want to say that's his right click. That's his pool.
Okay, so if charge speed. I'm assuming that they mean reduce cooldown, increase cooldown from 2 to 3 seconds, my guess. The wording's a little weird. And the big one from what I've heard, because I didn't really play, as I said, Human Torch when he was considered ban-worthy. They decreased the amount of blue health he gets when he slams down into the things from 75 extra health to 50. And they increased the cooldown by 5 seconds.
Yes, so I played him quite a bit when he was considered meta. Before, you could essentially just throw, and what a lot of people did, which I think was in my opinion, the wrong way to play him. They would mostly spam his pools, and then slam down into them, which would give him a ton of blue health, so you could just get that in for free, and then just go back to kind of area denial with the pools. Now, and then before, he could burn, burn down tanks with his primary fire. If you got headshots, because he's one of the few heroes with projectiles like he has that actually can get headshots. So if you could get a headshot on a tank, you could melt them in seconds. But now it's a little bit more, it doesn't hit as hard, but it still hits pretty hard. I would say A tier these days, just because now it feels a little more balanced.
True.
He still hits hard. He's still a solid flyer, a solid DPS, especially with the Invis team up. It gives him a little bit more survivability if he goes in for a dive. But he's not so ridiculously overpowered now that, he's down on the ground, but he can still fly away. No, if you don't time it right, or if your healers aren't paying attention, or if you don't have that Invis team up, you can get killed pretty easily. He is still very squishy.
Yeah,
Iron Man can kill him pretty easily.
I would say these two are kind of tied in an aerial combat. It will come down to just who's more accurate. Same with Storm versus Human Torch.
Right, it comes down to who gets that first shot off,
and also
who can keep getting their shots.
Our last hero, Ultron.
The newest hero, Ultron. Healing is... Primary healing is lackluster. It is very slow, but it does have an area of effect, so you can heal more than one person at a time. It's just you want to keep moving your drone around so that they get the burst heal and not just a really slow healing. Otherwise, he really relies on that Iron Man team up for a healing and his ult for healing.
Yeah.
His damage is ridiculous as well as his range.
Yeah, he basically has infinite range with no fall off, and if you land the entire burst, he can 2-tap the majority of people. No headshot damage, but he can 2-tap a lot of characters.
He can, yes, absolutely.
He's also good against flyers.
Oh, he's really good against flyers. I would probably put him in A, if for no other reason. Yeah, his healing is lackluster. He would probably be a low A.
I would say high
mid
B, maybe.
Yeah, high B, low A, high B. Just because he does not heal even as much as like an Atom. An Atom gets more burst healing. But I feel like the issue that a lot of people have that are trying to say that he's horrible, oh my god, is that too many people play him like a DPS. They use his ult only to DPS. They use the Iron Man team up only to DPS. And that's not his job. His job is a strategist. Yes, he does a lot of damage, but both of those, the team up and the ult, do far more healing than they do damage.
Yeah. Surprisingly, a lot of things that make Ultron actually pretty good is the shielding thing. I know most people tend to forget about the right click, the shield, that it not only shields people within the healing, but it's also like around him.
Right, so as long as like a flyer is near him, they'll get the shield. Anyone in the bubble that he gives, anyone near the drone will get the shield. It's not a big shield, but it does come in clutch and give any other healers enough time to get the person back to full health.
Yeah. Also, Ultron just kind of like Adam in this way. They only can perform really well most of the time if you're running the triple support, because obviously, kind of like how DPS Jeff worked out. Like you never ran DPS Jeff if you only had him and another support. It was always on triple. Adam also works this way, and now Ultron also kind of works this way. Like, to succeed with an Ultron on your team, most of the time at least, you need at least one of these guys or Cloak and Dagger. At least.
My only argument to that is that it's really going to depend on how good that player is with Ultron.
Yeah.
So I've gone into comp with the only supports we've had was an Ultron and a Rocket. And the Ultron did insane healing. They were doing upwards of 20k, 24k heals. So it really depends on how good you are with Ultron, and if you play him, like I said earlier, correctly.
Yeah.
If you play him like a duelist, you're not going to get a lot of heals. You're going to fail. You need that third strategist because you're not doing your job. If you play him, say you play him like Loki, like where, yeah, your main attack does a lot of damage, but you do want to heal mostly. If you manage your cooldowns, you can do a lot of healing and be really good with Ultron where you don't need that third strategist.
Yeah. When I play Ultron, I actually tend to stick either pretty close to the tank or stick close to my other supports, depending on what my teammates are running. So we can all, when I right click, we all get it, or just so I'm near enough my own drone to self-heal, you know? Like, that's another thing. Ultron's one of the few characters that has a way harder time self-healing, kind of like Loki. Loki also is one of those that has a harder time self-healing.
True.
And so you have to play him a lot more carefully than some of the other supports. Even though his mobility is pretty alright. I do wish you could cancel his shift so you can get it back sooner, though. That's one thing I would like, but that's a little nitpick.
I will agree. I was kind of hoping his shift would work a little bit like Iron Man's, but I can see why not, because between his shift does give him overshield as well, so it's more of like a, oop, I'm gonna dodge out of the way and kind of just bob and weave and hopefully not get hit too many times. If he had something like Iron Man's, I feel like he'd be ridiculously overpowered with his damage.
He would probably be too fast.
He'd be way too fast. And I do like how you said, like, okay, you want to play a little bit close to your team. I feel like that is a good way of playing Ultron. Like, you don't want to be so high in the air that everyone looks like little ants.
Yeah.
But you also don't want to be so low to the ground that now, like, any brawler could get you.
Yeah.
Like, you want to be kind of like in the middle somewhere.
Yeah. Funny enough, Ultron actually is decent. Well, survivable-wise, not against, but he actually has a decent chance to survive against Spider-Man, because as soon as he hits you with the E, the pull in or pulling himself into you attack, all you have to do is shift, and the overhealth is enough that he won't be able to kill you, basically.
That is true. I've done that quite a few times playing Ultron against the Spider-Man, where he'll hit me and I'll shift away, and then I'm noticing a lot of Spider-Men don't know what to do after that. They'll try and hit you again, but if you don't die right away, they try and run away, and that leaves you a good opening to just hit them with your beam. And unless they're really good at flipping and dodging, you can kill Spidey as he's panicking trying to get away.
Gotta psych out those spines, but there we go. We got everyone. Do you think we misplaced anyone out of here, or you feel pretty good about this one?
I I would say I feel pretty good. I will note though for the video,
Yeah.
if you see your hero is in a low tier, we're looking at we're not dissing you. We're not saying the hero is
Oh, of course
garbage,
not.
because there are some like crazy. We said it before. There are some crazy widows out there. There are some scary panthers and really accurate mantises and people that are really good with Penny. It's just we're analyzing this as a kit and how the general player base tends to play these heroes.
And just as a reminder, we're taking it from two perspectives here. Like, I'm in Celestial 3, and you're right now in what, Gold 2?
I'm in Gold 3 right now. Gold 3 going to Gold 2.
So we're trying to cover a bit of a wide range of perspective here, because I definitely know that certain characters that maybe like people in the Celestial Eternity One Above All will think like, oh, that hero's trash, but like people in the Bronze to Plat will be like, holy crap, this hero's overpowered, I can't do anything about them. One that comes to mind in that, I would say, is like Scarlet. Just because her ult is an insta-kill essentially in most cases, and also, you know, she can't really miss if she's in range.
Right, you just have to be within range and then everybody dies.
Yeah.
And not be behind like a mag shield or a strange shield.
Yeah, but then once you get up in the higher lobbies, people don't even pick her at all. Like, well, in most cases.
In most cases, right. And the same thing can be said for like Ultron, where I've seen a lot of people actually in Gold ban Ultron. They'll ban Ultron, they'll ban Penny, and it's because of their team-ups, or how much mobility they have, or their damage. Where I'm assuming in higher ranks, people probably don't touch Penny. Or
No,
Ultron.
not at all. Like, from what I played a little while back, out of all my rag games, I've only seen like 2 pennies, and that was only for my team. It was 1 defense, and then we swapped, and they swapped off of Penny, and then a different match we fought against a Penny when we were attacking. But that was a different match completely.
Different time. All right, hang on. Of course, no one knows how to answer a door. I'll be right back.
Yeah. But yeah, as Jay was mentioning, like a lot of the characters, for example, Adam is also another one that's very iffy, I would say. If you're playing well, you can play him well, and if you're good with him, you just go ahead and pick him. But the majority of people would not pick Adam, Mantis, Jeff, like at all for supports. Ultron, I have yet to see. I need to play a little more now. Recently, I'll probably start soon because I do want to see if I can climb to Eternity. Let's see where we land on that. But in most cases, I see a combination of these 3 and these 2 most of the time in most matches. For supports, at least. For tanks, combination of maybe these 4 mainly. Occasionally the diver, if the enemy or my team is running dive. Although I mainly play support and tank. So if I play tank, I'll play one of these 2 just because I actually like them. But I definitely know they're strong. For supports, I play mostly Imbus and Rocket. Although I do know Luna and Loki are generally the better choices, and if I really need to play them, although I'm not that good with Loki, decent with Luna. Obviously, Jay already said to everyone, pretty big on Iron Man.
Alright.
But yeah.
I'm back.
And I think we're done. Any other comments you want to bring up?
No. I'd say, other than like what I said earlier, that hopefully no one, like, please don't take this as personal attacks. This is strictly our opinion.
Yeah.
Especially since a lot of these heroes I have mained, and I would still put them where they are. Like, I've mained Venom. Moon Knight is my first Lord DPS.
Yeah, I remember Moon Knight was like the first hero you like hard main.
Yeah, and I would still put him in B because when it comes to his projectiles and a lot of other variables, he's just not as strong as the other DPSs that are in A or S.
Like, it's funny to me though, like, it's on accident mostly, like, well, it might not apply to every season, but like, when I played Season 0, I mainly played Strange and Cloak and Dagger, and pretty much all the supports except like Rocket and Adam were considered S tier. Strange was considered S tier, and then from Season 1.5 up to the beginning of 2, I pretty much only played Ibis Woman.
Yeah.
And then when Emma came out, I played a bit of Emma, started playing more Magneto. So like it's just funny that I ended up always playing like pretty high tier characters on accident because this is the first time I've ever done a tier list.
Yeah, same. I've never stopped to even really think about it.
Let's see. Maybe we'll run this again at some point. Are you planning on trying to climb higher on the ranks though? Do you have any goals
maybe
for
not
that?
this season. Maybe not this season because of there's not that much time left in the season. And with how much I was struggling just to get 2 gold, I'd rather not drop too far in rank by the end, and then I'd miss out on the skins.
I mean, I think the skin reward is based on your highest achieved rank, not the rank you end up in the season, I'm pretty sure.
I might have to double check that, because I thought we had to end the season in gold.
I'm pretty sure it was highest
in
achieved
at least
rank,
gold 3.
But it is at least gold 3. But I'm pretty sure it's highest achieved ranked that determines what reward you get. Not the rank you end the season with. Like, yeah, you go ahead and double check.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to double check that. I might climb, if I don't this season, I'll definitely maybe try and climb a little higher next season. Which this whole list could be completely different come next month.
And we don't even know yet which characters are coming next season at all. And now that they're gonna speed up how fast characters are released, like...
Yeah, that makes me wonder, like, how often are the team-ups gonna change? How often are the metas gonna be switched up? Because a lot of the times with these kinds of games, it takes people time to readjust when a character is changed dramatically. Like, it took me a minute to get used to Magneto again because they changed his range. It's taking a lot of people a minute to get used to how Thor works now. Are they gonna do that every month? Or
I would say
is it just they're adding new...
They might only do hard balance changes if someone's very overtuned, but otherwise I feel like they're just gonna do nerfs and buffs and nerfs at the start of each season's my guess.
I would hope so. Because to have it every month would be crazy.
But for example, like, it also, as you said, it takes time, because for example, when Marvel Rivals was in 0, everyone thought Wolverine was fucking trash. Like, he was like considered to be like down here. Because no one understood how to actually play him and what his strengths were. And now that people figure it out, they're like, holy shit, Wolverine's crazy.
Right.
And he was banned for a while, a lot of the time in the high ranks. And occasionally you still get a ban here and there, although there's better bans, to be honest. And also Wolverine's a little bit harder to play than a lot of the other heroes, hence why he's not banned as much at this point. But a gold Wolverine can make or break your lobby.
That is true.
Just like these two up here.
Yeah, a good Hawkeye and Hela can make or break. To be fair, a good of any of these heroes. Now, these are just ranked off kit, off our personal experiences, what we've seen. Any of these heroes, if you put enough hours into it and the team comp is there and you have good symmetry, any one of these heroes could destroy a lobby.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I like about Rivals. It's like, there's obvious metas, like right now there's a flyer meta. But there are counters. There are ways that if you're good enough with a certain hero, you can counter it. it's not everyone's gonna run the same setup because that's what's meta.
Yeah, I've never really experienced a mirror match. Have you?
No, very rarely. I think it happened once, and that was just because our team was winning so hard. I think they tried to
They just
copy it, and they just copied it, and we still like steamrolled them.
And the way, well, you also solo queue, right? Like I solo
Yes,
queue.
when it
and
comes to-
I don't even stream when I play comp. I just play solo queue off stream for comp, and I pulled off climbing. But you also solo queue, so we have a similar experience there. Although,
Yeah.
since I ended up on Celestial 3 Season 2.0, let's see, it dropped me to, I think it was Plat 1 when Season 2.5
Really?
started. Oh no, Season, I would need to check like my rankings, but before Emma came out, so no, Season 1.5, sorry, that I ended up at Celestial 3. So they bumped me down to Plat 1. And I worked all the way back up to Celestial 3 solo queuing. Mostly, I will say though that that season 2.0, I actually mainly did DPS and tank. I did play support when needed, but I was trying to like be a little better with playing DPS and tank. Because I was kind of tired of only playing it this woman, to be honest.
Yeah, that's where I'm kind of at with comp. Like the first season, I did mostly Invis and Magneto, and I actually did most of the time when I could. I did Moon Knight because he was really broken in 1.0 and 1.5. I don't want to keep playing the same 3 heroes though in comp.
Yeah.
Like eventually, I want to get more comfortable playing like. I want to get better with Magic. I want to get better with Iron Man. I want to get better with Luna. I want to get better with the other heroes so that I'm not just relying on the same 3 all the time.
I would say if you could get good at like really like you're like the best at 3, and then pretty alright with 2, and okay at 1. Like let's split the roles, right? Like, let's say support main. If you can like main these 3. And then like doing alright with tank with like one of these 4, and then alright with any of these DPS, I think you'll be a really solid player. Like, that's the way I view it. Like on your main role 3, off role 2, the role you don't like 1, basically makes you unbannable. Like.
Yeah.
Because at your best role, having 3, there's not enough bans unless your teammates ban one of your 3.
That is true, unless one of your teammates
but that's a different story.
Over. I agree, and I feel like that's what most people in Rivals unfortunately struggle with. Like I was hearing a story just today. The opposing team banned a Punisher. And the guy flipped out and started raging, so he went Spidey and went every other hero that he obviously does not play, and essentially threw the game. He went like 2 and 6. It's like, so because the opposing team banned the hero you play the most, you just started picking random things and throwing.
Yeah.
Like so many people just focus down one hero, and it's like, okay, it's okay if you like that hero. We all have heroes that we really, really love, but experiment, dabble, so that, oh, your hero got banned. Okay, well, I'm okay. Punisher got banned, but I'm okay with Iron Man. And Iron Man's available. All right, play Iron Man. Or you're okay with Bucky. Play Bucky. Don't just start randomly picking heroes and then you end up throwing the game because you never touched any other hero.
Yeah, but that all goes into a couple of different conversations. Like a lot of people don't like what you described, which is a one-trick pony person. And I personally don't mind them as long as they're not arguing about anything.
Right.
Like, there's one-trick ponies that, like the one you described. If they get banned, they just kind of throw because they literally don't know how to play anything else. which is rough and kind of sucks for your team. Then there's
Right.
the other ones that are good, even if they're playing something you might not personally like. As long as they're playing good, I don't care. I'll just let you play. And then there's the ones that are, let's say, here's a good example. I mentioned this in one video I made a while back, just randomly talking a bunch of Marvel stuff, but I had this game where we played defense first. I had this guy pick Widow on the Wakanda map, the Convergence one. So like where you capture the point and you push the statue.
Right.
And on defense, he always picked Widow, like for the point capture, and we lost every time. And he was like, I forget one of my supports was playing. I think they were playing Mantis or they were playing something else, or they were Mantis and swapped, or I forget exactly. It's been a while at that point, but they were complaining about our Widow, and our Widow's like, well, give me the Mantis boost then. Like, but the thing is, like, when he swapped up a Widow, he swapped to Psylocke, and he was crushing the other team with Psylocke. So he definitely was not a one-trick pony. He was more playing like just playing whatever the fuck he felt like. And we ended up winning, but this game went like, I want to say round 7.
Wow.
Because this guy refused to stick to what was working for our team. And I get
Right.
it. Like, I play for fun too. I don't even use comms, and people will probably hate me
neither
for
do I.
that.
There's gonna be people that hate us for that, but at the same time, I'd rather sit peacefully with myself, especially in comp. Even if I'm doing bad or the team is doing bad, I'd rather sit peacefully and just go, oh, well, all right, well, maybe it's, figure out what can be changed, rather than hear people rage and cuss and all kinds of other nonsense in my ear the whole match.
Yeah. But as I was saying, like, I'd rather just see if they even type anything. I occasionally type to see, like, hey, do we need anything in particular? You want to team up or something? Like, at the beginning of the rounds, usually what I say, if anything. But yeah, the Widow was arguing with one of our supports. He's like all bragging because he, like, when he was Psylocke, he was crushing. I was like, oh my god, I'm dictating whether we win or lose. Like, dude, just play. Like, just play the game and let's win.
Yeah, those are, I'll call those the ego maniacs.
Yeah,
because they're not playing badly, but they obviously think they're like the pinnacle of Marvel Rivals competitive, and it's like, all right, pal, relax.
Yeah, because I was playing tank that game, if I remember right, or at least I did at some point for the majority of the match. Maybe I was support first and then I swapped to tank or something. I forget exactly. But that's how that match went. Anyways, there you go. I guess the name of this video will be a Gold and a Celestial make a tier list.
Gold and Celestial make a tier list.
Something like
for now, because guaranteed it'll change next
in a month.
It'll
change every season. Like, there's no way we can keep this literally the same. Mainly because when new characters come out, some will become weaker because that character is good against them, and some will be stronger because they're good against that hero if that hero happens to be very strong.
That is true.
So
and that's a good thing about Rivals. It doesn't become stale. Everything is always changing.
Alright, but if you haven't, make sure to check out Skulltone. I believe your full Twitch name is Skulltone King, I think, right? Or what was it again?
The actual Golden Elios.
Skull Elios, that's right. Let me see. Probably just link it on the video.
Yeah, it's probably easier just to link it on the vid.
I'll grab it right now. But there you go. We made a tier list, our first tier list. How do you feel, Jake?
Tier
Should we make
list
a tier list?
It felt strange, but it also felt good to hash out, especially doing it with someone else. It doesn't feel like I'm just pushing my own opinions on other people.
Yeah.
Like kind of like how I feel when I watch some tier lists. It's just like, oh well, this is solely your opinion on this. It's nice to bounce ideas and experiences off of someone else, especially someone who's obviously played much more than I have and has played much higher ranks than I have.
Yeah, because for example, I also wanted to bring Luna on this one, but she didn't feel comfortable giving out opinions, and you know that's fair. Like they feel they're not quite ready for this sort of just like discussion, I guess.
Right.
Which is fine. She's pushing it hard, and she's in plat now.
Yeah, she's in plat. She got to plat 2 yesterday. I want to say yesterday or the day before she finally got back to plat 2.
Yeah.
But she had some rough games.
Yeah, and I haven't watched some of the games that she's played during that time, but you can probably attest to people arguing or people just playing pretty badly.
Between the people playing badly or what I feel like is a big problem right now in Rivals, people just leaving mid-match because they didn't get their hero or their team's not doing well, and it's like, why would you leave? Just, if you stick to it. I've had so many matches where at first we're losing, we're getting our butts kicked, but we pull it back the next 2 rounds, but someone left after the first.
Yeah. I've luckily haven't really had to deal with leavers, but I've definitely seen it happen way too often.
Yeah. I'm glad to see that the director has spoken about like steeper consequences for people that just leave in the middle of a match or throw. I understand if you lose connection. We've all had that, where our net goes out or the game crashes. But usually if you're quick enough, you can reconnect.
Yeah.
You know, it's when you don't reconnect after, like if it's a domination round. If you're not back by the second or third round, then you're not coming back and you DC'd on purpose.
Probably, yeah. Unless the connection took way too long to
right, or the connection just took ages, like you lost power and now you're still waiting in the dark.
Yeah.
Or your net, you lost a power line or something. Always circumstances, not always people throwing, but unfortunately it is an issue that people do throw.
Yeah. Alright, but that's the end. If you enjoyed the video and if you want to see future tier list, make sure to let us know. If you think our opinions suck, go ahead and put in comments. If you think they're super accurate and the best thing ever, also make sure to say so. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, and subscribe. You should check out Jay Skulltone on the Twitch. I don't think you do any YouTube stuff, right? Not really.
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Not yet,
Let me know when you do, and I'll plug it in.
Hell yeah, man.
Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.
See you.